So they say the devil is definitely in the details. Check this out. I got this from the premiere last night. This is, oh, come on, focus, man, focus. This is a 3D printed shark. And the top comes off, and this is why. Shout out to the event department. Alrighty, so last night was the Sydney premiere of Dangerous Animals. So before we get to the review, I just want to give a couple of congrats. So a very big congrats to my friend Lee of Popcorn Podcast, who not only introduced the film, but also did a quick cheeky little Q&A with director Sean Byrne. So congrats on that one. It was a damn good Q&A. And a massive congratulations to Mike Goldman. He appears as a cop in the film. So very, very cool. So Dangerous Animals has been doing the rounds for about a week now. Again, we just had our premiere last night here in Sydney. Now, when it comes to Sean Byrne as a director, he definitely has some little gems under his belt when it comes to his resume. For me, it's The Loved Ones. I think that is such a brilliant little Aussie horror film. It doesn't get talked about enough, I feel, but it's so damn good. And he definitely spaces his movies out. We also have The Devil's Candy from him, which I really dug, but The Loved Ones, damn good. But this time around, we have a serial killer shark movie. Combined together, who'd have thought, but it seemingly works. So this film was an absolute blast. I heard nothing but good things, and you try and taper your expectations going in. Whilst the film is not perfect, it definitely is one of those things where I think this will stand on its own, much like The Loved Ones. So the basic premise is we have Zephyr, who is an American backpacker who's here up on the Gold Coast. So the film is based in Queensland, the beautiful surfers paradise. She's a backpacker living the van life, and she gets abducted by Jai Courtney's Bruce Tucker, who has Tucker's experiences. He takes his victims to swim with the sharks in a cage. They think everything's hunky-dory during the tourist thing. He abducts them, and then he feeds them to the sharks with some ritualistic process that he has. And this is probably Jai Courtney's finest outing as an actor. I know he cops a lot of shit, especially when it came to like Live Free and Die Hard. As Captain Boomerang, he was fine. He just had to show up on set and be himself. I think he was the perfect Captain Boomerang. But as Bruce Tucker, this dude is fucked. This dude is unhinged. But at the same time, he's layered. He has manners. But then he also has these outbursts where he'll threaten to rip your guts out and then be like, hooroo, okay. He loves these Vegemite sandwiches. It just seems like a lot of thought has gone into Jai Courtney's process. There's little subtle nuances. The fact that he'd rather use an old vintage camcorder as opposed to an iPhone to record his victims being eaten by sharks. I just love little touches like that when it comes to his character. And that's obviously with thanks to Nick Leppard, the writer of this film. And I like the notion that this isn't your regular shark movie. Like, what if sharks aren't the one you should be afraid of? And there is a bit of a backstory with Bruce Tucker, but they only give so much away where they try and let the audience fill in the blanks, if that makes sense. They don't reveal too much of the monster. You only get a skerrick of kind of what drives him and what makes him who he is. And just, again, the mannerisms, the voice, the way he seems so calm on the surface, and then when the going gets going, he is absolutely brutal. And like the director said in the Q&A, the first time he met Jai Courtney, he gave him a hug, and it's like hugging a bear. Like, the dude is so physically imposing and intimidating, but at the same time, he can be such a larrikin. Like, very much like Mick Taylor from Wolf Creek. This is Wolf Creek on the water, but I feel like Bruce Tucker is much more layered and has a lot more nuances as opposed to Mick Taylor. Hassie Harrison as Zephyr was a damn good final girl, like a real worthy opponent to someone as big as and imposing as Jai Courtney. I like that she doesn't take no for an answer. And there's a line in the film where Jai Courtney's like, you and I are fighters, you and I are sharks. Everyone else just falls by the wayside. And that's why I think it's such a good pairing of someone who's a worthy opponent, like someone just who will not take no for an answer. Now, when it comes to seeing the process of a villain, you don't want to see too much. Like, I don't want to see Michael Myers' process of where he gets from A to B and what he has to do to get there. But we see Bruce Tucker's process in this film, and it seemingly works because, again, you see that gentle side of him when he's got a body of someone who is still alive in a surfboard bag and he's being being as careful and as cautious as he can to not bump their head or anything. And then when it comes to feeding time with the sharks, he's just an absolute madman. Like little things like that, seeing the processes of of how he gets a victim from A to B. This is a great looking film as well. Again, this is filmed up on the Gold Coast, beautiful surfers paradise, just showcasing how beautiful the scenery is there, the beaches. There's some great practical footage of sharks. There is one VFX shot at the end where I'm like, it looks like a lot of the budget went straight into that shot. Like it's the money shot. When it comes to my gripes with the film, it happens a lot in the third act. I feel like there's an over-reliance on the convenience factor, if that makes sense. Everything is convenient, everything is so well timed, everything's just about to happen. Yes, that can work, I think sparingly, but overdone, it can be a little bit too much. And one other thing, I wanted more gore. I was expecting a lot more gore. Like I was expecting like bodies ripped in half and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, this is a gory film. I just expected a lot more gore. Like I expected an absolute bloodbath and a half, like literally throwing buckets of bloody chum in the water bloodbath. And ultimately, I think that's where the film suffers just a little bit. It gets a little bit too big for its shoes in the climax of the film, but at the same time, I would have liked to have seen more. This is an hour 38 film, including credits. I would have liked to have seen a bit more padding in the third act. Things seemingly abruptly happen. And whilst I'm okay with that, I still want to see more. I think that's because I was so engaged and invested with these characters, because these are some damn good performances and something just so different at the same time. You know, a serial killer and shark movie together. On paper, you think, how the hell are we going to do this? And I think also, again, that's due to the writing as well, where Nick Leppard essentially lets us think for ourselves and kind of gives us clues as to how certain characters get from point A to point B, or what's going on in the background. They don't show it. They don't shove it in your face and treat the audience as being dumb. And I appreciated that. You kind of put two and two together, join the dots when certain characters link up or a certain character appears. I'm like, oh, of course. I appreciate stuff like that. So guys, overall, Dangerous Animals was a damn little gem of a horror film, much like The Loved Ones. I think this is definitely going to get a nice little following upon its proper release, and then, you know, with digital release and home release and 4Ks, Blu-rays and stuff like that. I definitely think it stands on its own, like I said, like The Loved Ones. It was a brilliant and refreshing performance from Jai Courtney, and I think this is his best work, if I'm being honest. Hassie Harrison is a brilliant final girl. The Gold Coast setting is a nice spin on a slasher film, and it's nice to see some familiar faces in the credits and on screen. It's just always cool to see some homegrown talent being featured. Sans a few issues I had with certain choices in the writing towards the end and the lack of gore, I thoroughly recommend checking this one out at the cinemas, guys. The booming and almost heart-beating score by Michael Yaszewski makes it all the more worthwhile. You need to hear those booming rumbles with some damn good atmos. Is Bruce Tucker the new Mick Taylor? I actually prefer Bruce Tucker to Mick Taylor. Like I said at the beginning of this review, I feel like there's a lot more layering, a lot more nuance to his character. And that's with thanks to the writing, but also Jai Courtney's damn good performance. Definitely give this one a crack, guys. And with that, I'm going to be giving Dangerous Animals 3.75 jars of Vegemite out of 5. Shark baby. So guys, with that being said, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts once you have checked out Dangerous Animals. Do you think it was worth the hype or not? Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.